The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The Philippine Coast Guard says it will be, quote, very serious in investigating a China flag bulk carrier which reportedly hit a fishing boat in Occidental Mindoro. Based on the initial probe, the fishermen had just laid out a payaw or a fishing device while in the waters of Palawan, Occidental Mindoro. This was when their boat had been hit by the Chinese vessel and left to drift aimlessly on water. Sea conditions were reportedly moderate to rough at the time of the incident. The 5 fishermen on the vessel were rescued and were recommended to file a marine protest. The PCG says it is already coordinating with the Safety Administration of China, whose flag had been identified from the vessel's registration. They asked for identification of the ship's owner as the PCG carries out its fact-finding probe. The PCG has also written about the incident to Indonesia, where the foreign vessel was reportedly headed. However, in an interview with Radio 5's Ted Filon and DJ Chacha, the PCG says they recommend that the fishermen file for damages as it would be easier to process.
Pagka-aksidente, ni-encourage natin na mag-settle. Kung mahabol po sila through damages, ay mas maganda po. Sapagkat alam niyo naman, pagdating sa criminal liability, magiging napakahirap ito at magiging napakatagal.
The passenger of the Cessna plane that crashed in Isabela last week may have survived. According to Isabela PDRRMO, the pilot was found dead when rescuers arrived at the crash site, but its passenger, Irma Escalante, is missing. Authorities also reported seeing a makeshift shelter near the plane's crash site. They suspect that Escalante might still be alive and might have stayed there before seeking help. They plan to send canine trackers tomorrow to search for Escalante. Authorities also aim to retrieve the remains of the deceased pilot from the crash site tomorrow.
Yung conditions ay hindi flyable kanina.
Okay.
Kaya hindi nakapag-launch ng rescue flight dahil sa weather doon sa lugar. Hopefully tomorrow mag-air.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The Manila City Jail is releasing over 100 inmates ahead of Christmas. The administration says 130 persons deprived of liberty are being released under the Good Conduct Time Allowance or GCTA. They are also releasing inmates who have finished serving their sentence and those whose cases have been dismissed. The administration calls this an early Christmas gift for the inmates to be set free. Meanwhile, the Justice Department plans to conduct a drug summit next year where it will review the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002.
Sometimes people are charged with non-bailable offenses, even with a minuscule amount. So we have to review the threshold amounts and how to afford them bail during the course of the trial so that we don't congest our jails In the last exercise, we have 70,000 people charged with drug offenses, and some of them are bailable or non-bailable, but just the same, they are in jail. So we have to review it whether our amounts or threshold amounts for you to be charged with a non-bailable offense is still accurate.
Another defendant in the killing of radio broadcaster Percy Lapid has been convicted. The Justice Department said Denver Mayores was slapped a prison term of 2 to 8 years after pleading guilty to being an accessory in the crime. Mayores, who is now detained at the New Bilibid prison, initially faced a murder complaint as principal by indispensable cooperation. 3 other suspects were earlier convicted for Lapid's murder after pleading guilty as accessories. Lapid, who was a critic of the Duterte and Marcos Jr. administrations, was shot dead on October 3, 2022. Let's now take a quick look at other stories we're watching. Oil companies may implement another rollback in petroleum prices next week. Gasoline prices could see a reduction of 50 centavos, while diesel and kerosene prices could go down by more than 1 peso. House Speaker Martin Romualdez vows to pass all the administration's priority measures before Christmas break. He also told the Philippine Star that the final version of the 2024 budget may be released by December 11. And Pag-asa logs fewer cyclones this year than usual, likely due to warm weather and the El Niño phenomenon. But at least 1 cyclone is expected to form inside the Philippine territory before Christmas. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 11:15 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News, all sides, all the time.